What? Oh yeah, I chopped it off. I had to get free.
What a crazy old man. I love him so much.
We are back, and we're back. We are the Screen Sisters.
Hola.
All right, so we're going to talk about
Episode 3 of Hockey.
Hockey.
Hockey. Overall, this was probably my favorite episode so far. Obviously, we have 3 more episodes left. I'm assuming the action and the story and everything else is going to go up from here, especially how this episode ended with that knife to Clint's knife to Clint's neck. Don't judge me.
Thanks for thinking of me.
So you go first.
Okay. I really liked when it opened on little baby Echo and her story.
Yeah.
It's so like sweet.
And the little girl playing her had the cutest face.
Yeah. She was adorable.
So sweet.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that her father chose not to enroll her in a deaf school, which seemed to be because of money, but weren't they working for Fisk? And Fisk was her uncle. Why wouldn't he?
So I'm thinking that maybe either he couldn't afford it and was working for Fisk to be able to afford it, but then decided that she should just kind of make herself, like insert herself into real society, because that's all that kind of matters after you get to a certain point, is like how to be in a real society. So maybe we'll look more into that in the next couple episodes. I really hope we get more flashbacks between her and her father, and maybe we can see some more information about what happened there. But I'm just under the impression that he was working for Fisk, maybe to pay off the school, but then maybe he didn't even want to take her to the school because he didn't want to pay for it, because he wanted to just keep the money and do something else with it, or the money went somewhere else. What? Why do you look that face?
Go ahead. I had a thought of something you said.
What's your thought?
Last time you were saying, what if Fisk hired Ronan to kill the tracksuit gang?
Yeah.
What if Fisk did actually give him money to put his daughter through deaf school, but he was using the money for something else? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't think that he would not put his money towards his child, but.
So after we meet her father, they start talking about dragons. And it just made me think about how, she said our dragon's real, and he said like not on this earth or not in this world or whatever. So that made me kind of think about, maybe he knew about the 10 rings and knew about the Great Protector. Maybe he knows about all that other stuff, which means maybe he knows about Kun Lun and Xiao Lao. Anywho, so I was just thinking that maybe he could possibly be connected to the 10 rings. Okay, so also, did you notice that the tattoo on his chest was like kind of like a star, whatever? But then later on, when you see Echo wearing her jacket, that same symbol is stitched on her like leather jacket. So I thought that was really like ode to her father. So again, this is being like, we got like an homage of like young Kate loving her father, and now we have like young Echo still like honoring her father. So there's like a parallel there between these two women and their two journeys. And she saw Hawkeye. Kate saw Hawkeye and immediately wanted to become an archer. And in the same sense, if Clint was in the Ronin suit and Maya saw Ronin kill her father, then that's still like he was inspiring her to get back. So Clint was inspiring like both of these women.
Interesting.
Also, the little kid that gets tackled in karate, he was credited as being little Kazi. And you know that Kazi is the guy who ends up working for her, like in the now part. So that means hopefully they've known each other for years, at least at this point, at least like 10, 15 years, since they were little babies. Okay, go ahead. I just talked a lot.
Do you think Kazi's in love with her? Or you didn't really get,
What if Kazi is the reason her father is dead? What if Kazi was in the Ronin suit? What if Fisk told Kazi to get rid of her father? And that's why he doesn't want to pursue the Ronin arc. And that's why he said like, well, be careful if Uncle finds out about Ronin, because maybe Fisk told Kazi to do it.
Did we see Kazi demonstrate any type of like fighting skills, or like when the fight was happening in the warehouse, he didn't really demonstrate anything too technical, right?
He ran away.
Because I mean, if that was him as a kid doing karate, who's to say that he actually kept up with it if he was getting beaten? You know what I'm saying?
You keep going with karate, and of course, the entire karate facility looked like it was run by the tracksuit mafia.
Oh, I
So
didn't even realize. Yeah, you're probably right.
yeah, because the guy with the tracksuits came in and then dropped off young Maya,
Mm-hmm.
and then her dad was in the tracksuit,
Mm-hmm.
and then another tracksuit walked out the door. I'm just kidding. I don't know. But I was just kind of sort of thinking, so that's why I'm thinking like at the end when he said, imagine what your uncle's gonna do when when he finds out. That's why I'm under the impression that I think Kingpin actually hired Ronan, or Kazi hired Ronan, or maybe just some way to get his business to scare off Ronan into thinking he killed everybody. He got to kill his main people, but he still had others working for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I think. I know there's some big mystery plot there with Kingpin and Ronan and her father. And I like I said, I hope we get flashbacks and we find out what really happens. But right now, everything is just speculation and theories and stuff. So that's just my opinion so far. Okay.
It's just all like, it's just sucky.
What's sucky?
Having somebody kill your quote unquote brother. If her father refers to him as her uncle, then it would kind of insinuate that they think of each other as brothers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the moral of every story and what we've been finding out about all the Marvel films is that it's always like a family member or a friend of the family that's always the villain.
Right.
I feel like that's mostly what the arc has been for a lot of, not so much all the MCU, but a lot of times in comics in general, it's always like your family or a friend of the family or a longtime friend, just like someone who connects you and to the actual big problem, the big final like third act or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's always someone who's least expected because it's like your dad. So so I mean, it is sad, but I think it happens a lot, especially in the MCU. Like think of Iron Man, the very first one, it was Obadiah, and he said Howard was his brother. So Uncle Obi.
I did I mean, obviously, like we've all been talking about Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin showing up, somewhere again in the MCU, and then the speculation, but which turns into fact that he must appear in the Hawkeye series if you're going to bring in Echo. And first of all, that shot was awesome because it stays on her father, and her father gets up, and then Uncle steps into frame. And the camera doesn't move, so it's like, no, is it?
It's Kingpin because you see the suit, you see his suit, you laugh, and then you see the cufflinks, and it's like
cufflinks, his build, everything,
the very heavy footsteps.
Yeah, if it's not Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin, then it's gonna be Liev Schreiber's Kingpin.
You embarrassed me in front of Vanessa. I wonder how they could integrate Bullseye, especially how the last episode of Daredevil ended with him getting his back broken, getting this cybernetic spine. And I just wonder, maybe he could show up in the Echo series.
Maybe.
And maybe, like I'm saying, like here, if my whole thing is right, and Kingpin is the reason responsible for her father's death, and maybe he hires Ben Poindexter to take out Echo or to protect him from Echo, and then we can get a big old fight again between him and Daredevil. Because I'm 1,000% sure Charlie Cox is back. Charlie Cox was announced back today, like he has to be an Echo, like he has to be in it.
Wait, so you're saying Fisk would hire Ben to kill?
You know what? No, that wouldn't work because he was going to kill him.
He's got a vendetta. If anything, Fisk, I think, would try to recruit Ronan to help protect him against Bullseye because he knew Bullseye was like almost done with his therapy, his recovery from his cybernetic enhancements.
There's still some wiggle room there. I mean, if they even want to bring Wilson Bethel back as Ben Poindexter, there's lots of stuff to consider, I think.
Right.
Especially if we have no idea if we're getting all of the defenders back, and if we are getting another Iron Fist or another Luke Cage. I'm a firm believer I'm a firm believer in Kristen Ritter's supremacy, so I'm pretty sure she's coming back. Like, that's just my emotions. I want her back. I think she's back. It's just, no one has announced anything. It's all speculation at this point.
Right.
But if we're doing any type of ground level Avengers, West Coast Defenders, anything at all again, then I wonder how they're going to introduce them again into the MCU, because they would have to move all of that stuff over to the Disney Plus. Yeah, but apparently the MCU and the Netflix Marvel series don't count, because they always refer to the Chitauri as the incident. So yeah.
Yeah. So you said that the hotel that they walked out of in episode 1 was the same.
Yeah, I think that was the same one that Fisk buys. And what season of that was that? Season 1 of Daredevil or 3?
After he gets out of prison?
He buy a hotel in season 3?
Yeah, in season 3, he has somebody make an attempt on his life so he can get outside protection. So they put him in this hotel, and he ends up buying the hotel. Yeah, you had mentioned the Fat Man Auto Repair.
Yeah, when she shows up to see, Ronan killing her father. That was the Fat Man Auto Repair shop. So another reference that Kingpin is definitely there. If it was Clint in the mask, then he has to have that big altercation with Kate, with Echo, saying like, that was me, I did it, I'm sorry, or whatever. And he was in a really bad place in his life, and he was murdering people.
Someone on Twitter had posted saying that it was very American to like basically go put on whatever you're going to put on to go do whatever you're going to do. That's problematic, and then change clothes and go about. I kind of wonder if any of that was conscious during the writing process. And then I do fully believe it was him at the Fat Man Auto Repair. I fully believe it was him. I don't think it was anybody else.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was definitely Clint. I don't think it would be anybody else. It would be, to me, it would be a little outlandish to introduce somebody else, which seemingly took place during the snap. How lucky is it that Echo and her father survived the snap? Is that why you think it wasn't Clint?
Also, Kingpin apparently survived the snap.
Did he? We saw him there for her childhood.
We have any proof that he wasn't there? But that would give him, even Clint said, the guy in charge wants nothing but to expand. How would he know that unless he survived?
That's true. You said Jack Duquesne.
Yes. Jack Duquesne, who is not spelled D-U-C-A-N-E, because I can't spell, is actually called the swordsman in the comics, and who actually trained Clint with archery.
He's Stick.
He is Stick.
Yeah.
But less insane, apparently. Remember when Stick just like cut off his hand? It was just like, I had to cut this off.
I had to get out.
Now that we have the whole thing of why maybe he possibly wanted the sword and the suit so badly, maybe it's because like it was his. Maybe he gave it to Clint. Maybe he made it. Maybe, like, you know what I mean? Maybe he just wanted it back because he had given it to Clint, or Clint took it from him, or maybe he had it during the snap, and when he came out of the snap, he was like, there was a vigilante running around with my shit.
Has Kate ever mentioned Jack's name around Clint?
So either. I think she did say Armand, but Clint didn't really say anything about that either. So either maybe he didn't know that they were related, or maybe he did, and we're just, like I said, like there's still so much we don't know about. Possibly. I don't know.
Because if it is the case of she never mentioned his name, then he wouldn't have known that he was even looking for the suit.
Clearly something's going on with Duquesne. Something is happening. I think we're going to get some type of really big conversation in this coming week's episode, especially because I know they're gonna have to talk, and I think that might have more like exposition for the finale, and or just fill in more of what was happening pre episode 1.
Okay, so you're talking about Father's little dragon.
Yeah, when he was dying in her arms, he said little dragon. So I think it was kind of like she's a little dragon to him, because she always talked about dragons when she was a kid. And then he touched her face, which hopefully we see in the last episode of Hawkeye. She has the iconic white handprint on her face. Hopefully maybe we see that. Oh yeah, and did you notice that the abandoned building they were in was a KB Toys? Do you remember KB Toys? I wrote that down. Remember KB Toys?
That explains a lot. I didn't even think of the fact that it was an abandoned toy factory.
Yeah, and it was like you didn't even notice it, but then you remember that was it episode 2 of Loki when they were in like the abandoned store and they were like kind of fighting and like all the toy stuff, so it was like kind of similar to that too.
Oh, okay. All right. What was on the name of their truck they were driving?
Trust a bro, smile, you're moving.
Trust a bro, smile, you're moving. Okay.
Yeah.
So they fronted as a moving company, an auto repair facility, and then they maybe sold old toys to people. I don't know.
I doubt you could buy anything from an abandoned KB house, but if you can, I don't think it's a toy. I don't know either, but it makes you just want to go to the nearest abandoned warehouse and just hang out.
Yeah.
Apparently, if I just hang out there, I can get superpowers. I can watch interrogations. I can watch archery fights. I can do a lot.
Yeah.
I can see a lot of stuff. Then when he says Natasha killed Ronan, I like that part because I thought that Natasha was the only one to bring him out of the darkness of what was really happening inside of him. And then you notice how, you remember in Endgame where, what is his name? When Rhodey was like, I was like, when Don Cheadle. And Endgame, when Rhodey was
Don Cheadle.
You've seen, what Clint's been doing the past few years. So are you gonna do anything about it? That was basically like, I felt like that was what he was saying, because I felt like he knew if he were ever see him, he'd probably have to kill him, but he didn't want to. He probably wanted Natasha to reach him and get him before he would have to, because he clearly knew what was going on. Yes. And so when they said that, and then I really like that scene because you just see them kind of signing to each other, Clint and Maya, and I thought that was really sweet. And I kind of didn't understand why she started attacking Kate. I didn't get it at first. When I watched it again, I was just like, oh, like as soon as she saw Kate, they knew she was in the suit, and then she really thought that, Kate killed her father. So that immediate like flash of red kind of like took control of her, and she tried to like choke her immediately.
I wondered if it was something Kate was saying at that time, because they had muted it out when she started speaking initially. So I wonder if it was something she was lip reading from her that like clicked for her.
Yeah. Maybe.
I also kind of wondered, I don't know how much time has passed. I don't know what kind of training he's receiving for learning sign language, but I kind of wondered if he pretended to not be able to sign well so that Kate could hear everything that was being said, so that Kate would know what was happening. I mean, I could be wrong. He could actually just not be fluent yet. I mean, which is fine. I mean, learning a different language is difficult. It takes time.
Of course, yeah.
Especially, needing constant exposure. But yeah, but you're right. That is a really solid moment when he says that Natasha Romanoff helped to kill Ronan.
Thank you. Oh, and also that really beautiful Dodge Challenger that they are trying to flee from. That's actually the car they have in the comics, which I thought was really funny. And then he says, like, I'm not stealing that. It was actually Natasha's.
Oh, okay.
And Clint wanted it, I think. And so she said, buy your own. And
Okay.
I think he did, and I think it did get damaged. I think it did
Okay.
get like shot up. Either hers got shot up or his got shot up. But either way, it
Mhm.
was like kind of sort of what they had in the comics. I thought it was kind of funny.
Hmm.
The other thing is all of the different kinds of arrows he used, which I was expecting, but also not expecting, because
Mhm.
we've seen some trickery, right? But we haven't
Mhm.
seen
A lot of it.
specifically, you
Mhm.
know, very, purposeful arrows.
Mhm.
Anything else you want to say about the arrows?
The USB arrow, right? Was that the
Okay.
same one that? Well, it looked different though.
Okay, of course, yes. But like obviously we just saw a USB arrow in What If,
Mhm.
obviously.
Mhm.
But this one, when she used it and hit that guy, wouldn't it have hurt? Because he was like, okay, like that's literally how he reacted. I'm like, if I got shot like 45 feet away, from a USB arrow, that would hurt. I would.
Well, these are guys who fight for a living, so I'm sure he's got some tough skin, you know.
It should have at least hit something. He should
Mhm.
have been like, ow,
Yeah.
or something. Like USB. I don't even have one. Oh, I do. Well, now that I look at it, it doesn't look too painful. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It came from a distance,
Yeah.
what's the word? Velocity.
Inertia.
Inertia. Yes. So many science words.
He was so obviously, we're on the bridge now, and he tells her to take this last arrow to cover him, and or no, he gives her an arrow and tells her to shoot up.
Mhm.
They hit the big truck. Man, that was freaking awesome.
That was a really awesome
I was
thing.
like, oh, and then it landed. I was like, oh, it was so
Yeah.
cool.
Also, wouldn't that have caused a little bit more damage to the bridge?
It should have probably like gone through it, I think,
Yeah.
but
For cinematic purposes, it only destroyed the car.
yeah, they need
Um,
everyone to make it off the bridge safely.
yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So far the only person who has actually like died has been her father in episode 1, and then Armand
Hmm.
at the end of episode 1, correct?
Hmm.
Okay, so I wonder how many more deaths we're gonna get.
So I know in the last episode, you and I were talking about how her mom might actually be a bad person, and that she's, and I speculated that she might have to actually take out her mom. I think after this episode, I'm not sure, and I know we didn't see her this episode. I feel like I'm not as sure, and I'm wondering if her mom is being completely manipulated, and that Kate might actually end up having to save her mom by the end of it. But I mean, it's still, we're still what, 2 episodes out, so
Well, we're 3 episodes out. We have episode 4
okay.
coming up this week. Yeah, I don't know. Like with how this show is going so far, and seeing that her family, remember when they walked into the penthouse and they said her great grandfather built that penthouse, so clearly wealth is like in their name, I guess, or whatever. So maybe some type of his like failure, or some type of something, that this is why I think that she killed Derek, or at least saw him die and didn't care, because of like their financial situation. Or maybe, yeah, I don't know. I just I just think either at the end of it, either she will be arrested or in jail, or like Maya's gonna kill her or something.
Okay.
I'm leaning more towards jail because it's a Disney Plus show, and then if she's in jail, she can still kind of have more roles later and be communicative. Because if we're doing the whole evil women arc, and then within phase 4, then we have her who can also talk to Sharon,
Hmm.
who can also talk to Xialing,
Hmm.
who can also talk to Allegra,
Hella.
Tessa Valentina DeFontaine. Did I say her name right?
Hella.
She's We don't know if she's dead.
She's not.
I don't think she's dead either.
Oh, so it was. So this is taking place 2 years after Endgame.
Yeah, that's what the producers said. So if Endgame was 2023, this is Christmas 2025. But I don't know how timelines work in the MCU anymore. I think, especially with the snap or the blip, And, you know, even in Homecoming, when they said 8 years later, even though that was a huge mess up.
Is it though? Because the multiverse has been exploded.
Exactly.
So
and like I was
probably
saying, with everything that's been happening within the last few series, we had, you know, what happened in Westview, we have what happened with Loki. I kind of don't know if they're sticking to this, you know, this takes place 2 years after Endgame, you know, mindset.
When did they was that recent that they said that, or?
I'm not sure. I mean, it says, you know, it just says when they were talking about when someone asked them in some interview, someone asked them when does it take place, and they said 2 years after Endgame. So I'm not 100% sure which article they said this in.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we would need some time. It would have to be 2 years after Endgame because those kids are big. Those kids definitely got bigger. I don't know what you mean by this. Hero dad remembered?
Oh, like remember when she was talking to Clint and she said like my dad was like a great person who loved to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was thinking like, why does she remember her dad like that? Like what? Obviously we see that in the very first episode. Remember I brought it up, like she prefers her father to her mother when she was like feeling overwhelmed. So I'm wondering, like, if we get more backstory, if we get what actually happened on that day, like last episode, we see what happened between Eleanor and Derek. We actually see it. You know, she has the hero complex of her father.
Mm-hmm.
If that goes away at the last episode, if that stays, depending on what really happened with her mom, that's how she remembers him, and that's why she brought it up to Clint. Because I remember she was talking to Clint about being a hero, and he's like, "This is not a great job."
Right.
I'm not a role model.
Do you think the fight over money was because he didn't actually care about having money? He was probably more focused on just wanting to help people.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of, like I said, we kind of have like really no idea what the conversation was about. Like, obviously, we know it's about money. Mm-hmm. And we obviously know whatever happened at the beginning of episode 3 with Echo is about money. So we just, like I said, we have 3 episodes left with tons of exposition, and I really hope we get in some like really, really, really good plot fillers, because I feel like sometimes MCU kind of makes us go a little crazy over a couple things, and that nothing ever gets, nothing ever gets panned out. So
like that time Leopold Fitz was supposed to be the engineer.
I forgot all about that. I really honestly did. And that upsets me.
Yeah.
Also, this is a Leo Fitz house. When they were in the cab heading to the penthouse or whatever, and he was talking about the stuff that was left of the Avengers compound and like where it's going. Mm-hmm. I was just wanting to talk about that more, because obviously the watch is of some importance. I'm assuming it's for Kingpin. If Kingpin is all but seemingly confirmed at this point,
right?
But what else was there? But because there was the Ronin sword, there was the Ronin suit, there was the Avengers watch that we assume is Tony's, that that Wilson Fisk wants. So there's something. I think there's whoever's behind all of that is going to be either her mom or someone else, like someone who knows what's there and knows what to auction for. And maybe the whole breaking into the basement of the black market auction, black market, is that what it's called? Maybe that was set up by her mom or set up by someone else. Who knows what was going on?
Here's my working theory based on everything you said. First of all, we know for a fact that Sharon was dealing in black market everything while she was in Madripoor. So this could be part of her operation. Mm-hmm. And then, as I said last time, if Eleanor is actually working with Contessa, then Eleanor probably knew of a manifest of items that were found at the site, because maybe I don't think she would have done security, but maybe she would have known some sort of workaround or whatever. What interest would Fisk have with Stark Tech? It's going to be funny if it's not actually Stark Tech. It's something is from somebody else. Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
Or maybe the Stark Tech watch, maybe it was similar to how Tony's watch did that whole thing in Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And then also maybe that could just be leading up to Armor Wars, because we don't really know what's going on in Armor Wars yet, but we know that it's about stolen Tony Stark tech, and that also maybe possibly Justin Hammer is back. I don't know. That's not confirmed. I think it's just my brain. Like, that's just my brain.
Do you think we're going to see Justin Hammer this?
I don't think so right now. Maybe he got out of jail during the blip.
Because I could see that too, like him facilitating black market stuff to get a hold of Avengers compound items, and he has various people working for him to collect these items. Ooh. Also, I don't know if you remember in Homecoming, you remember when they were moving upstate?
Yeah, of course.
Happy was talking about the various items. He's like, I think he said Tony's new suit or something, and he said Thor's magic belt, which we still haven't seen yet either. So I just wondered if any of those items what they had mentioned were at that auction as well.
You know what? Like I said, I think a lot of stuff is just still being ironed out with all the different writing rooms of all the different shows they're doing, because we're going to get some, not some street level stuff, but a little bit in like the Mystic era when we get to like Moon Knight, when we get to She-Hulk, when we get to, you know, the Echo series. So I think like, and Armor Wars, of course, but I'm just saying, I think, like I said, there's irons, like we have so much more stuff, I think, to figure out, because I kind of forgot what we were talking about.
We were talking about the stuff at the compound. You have an in-game cartel.
Yeah, okay, so remember, like I said, when Rhodey was like, you know what Clint's been doing this whole time. Like, do you think that the cartel he killed in Mexico could have anything to do with Kingpin's operations in New York? Especially referring to expanding.
What exactly is Kingpin's operation? Is it primarily drugs?
I cannot for the life of you, or life of me, tell you what was actually going on with Kingpin.
I know that it was drugs once the Hand were involved because they were peddling heroin, no?
Oh, yeah. Crime Overlord, adversary to Spider-Man, but later went down becoming the arch enemy of Daredevil. Recurring foe of his adopted daughter Echo and the Punisher.
Wait, what are you saying? His adoptive
daughter
Echo. And then what about the Punisher?
And I'm just reading the Wikipedia page.
The foe of Daredevil?
I'm reading Kingpin's page. The arch enemy of Daredevil, a recurring foe of his adoptive daughter Echo and the Punisher.
Echo does Am I too stupid for you?
No.
So Echo does turn against Fisk in the comics?
Sure.
Sloan Limited, yeah.
Yes. So that was the company when they Googled Kazi and her mom's whatever. So maybe Eleanor or Fisk works for Eleanor, or they work together, because clearly Kazi's name shows up in their system as an employer of, a Sloan Limited, which could be, just another title that Fisk runs.
Do you think Sloan is an acronym for something else?
I don't really think that. I feel like it was just maybe an ode to many of the comics characters with the last name of Sloan.
Okay.
But, we don't know until we get there.
Like who? Okay, never mind. So you think Eleanor is funding the tracksuit mafia?
Not 100. I mean, I'm assuming there is some correlation there. There's a person named Walker Stone, Morris Sloan. It could be any of these people.
Okay.
Like I said, we don't know. We don't know.
So I think after such an exciting episode, I think our favorite episode so far is my least favorite ending to the episodes so far. And you can tell, I mean, I think you had mentioned this before, you can tell that, especially with this series, it was shot as almost as if it were a feature-length film, and they're just cutting it in chunks rather than shooting it as an episodic. It looked like it was one continuous, project, and then they're just cutting it into the the chunks that they want, each week.
I really appreciate like this whole mini series tie-ins things that they're doing into the films. I think it's helping a lot, and it's helping to flesh out some characters.
Mhm.
I think just this Hawkeye period, I think it's flowing just a tad bit better than Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki. So I think just maybe getting the grounding of what they want their television series to be like. This one I think is flowing a little bit more smoothly.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right, thank you.
We will be
We are
back.
Screen Sisters. I am Stephanie.
Yeah, we will be back next week with episode 5. Four. Episode 4.
This is our episode 3 review.
Yeah, this is our episode 3 review.
Great.
All right, bye.
Bye.